here, let's talk about a monopsony with a trade union and all the possible different wages that they could charge and the impacts on employment and wages. And just to refresh what's happening, so this monopsony is a really powerful company, and this company pays workers the minimum that they can possibly accept. And we've talked about how that minimum means paying workers on the supply curve. So here's what's going to happen. The monopsony, first of all, profit maximizes, and that's going to be where your MC equals your MRP. I'll do a video on this another time. So that's going to be there, and the monopsony is going to hire that many people, which is Q1 people have been hired. But then it will follow rule 2, which is pay people the minimum that can accept, which is on the supply curve. So these Q1 people are not paid where the green dot is. Instead, the monopsony pays them the absolute minimum, which is W1. And for the people working in this monopsony, they could be quite upset because they are not being paid very well, and the working conditions are probably quite bad because Q1 employment is probably quite low. So they've got lots of workload. So let's take a look at case A. Here, a trade union decides to go for W trade union. Why do they want to do that? Because this is a trade union that wants the highest wages for its workers. So for these Q1 workers, this particular trade union wants to protect their interests, and they've defined that in terms of the highest wage possible. So the trade union, let's assume, has been successful to achieve W trade union. So what happens to the graph? We have 2 rules to remember. So the most important thing is this one, that your MC is going to equal your AC and your AC and your supply curve and your wage. All these things are going to equal together. And I'll explain that to you in another video. So for now, all those equal together for all the workers willing to work at that wage rate. So at W trade union, we have QS people that are willing to work at that wage rate. So all of these QS people were willing to work at W trade union or lower. So when the new wage rate arrives, we have to follow that rule that the MC equals the AC, equals the supply curve, equals the wage rate. So I'm going to draw the new supply curve in white, and for all those people, the supply curve equals the wage for all the people who are willing to work at that wage rate. The second rule is everything returns to normal otherwise. So your new supply curve is as 2. And let's repeat this with the MC. So the MC follows the same rule. Your MC equals your wage for all the people willing to work at that wage rate, which we've already said is QS. So again, your MC is going to be equal to this supply curve. And then it kind of returns to normal. Normal, unfortunately, is not really on my graph. Imagine MC kind of continued. I ran out of space on the graph, but MC would have been there. That's MC2. So it has this continuity that we've discussed before. And how many people will be employed? So let's take a look. The monopsony is going to profit maximize. So they will set MC equal to MRP. And the new MC. So the new MC, this orange line, equals the MRP there, which means they're going to hire that many people, which is going to be Q1 people. So this is a really cool situation where the trade union has caused the same number of people to be employed, but they're all employed at this higher wage rate now. So that's a win for employees. They're getting paid more and they've all kept their jobs. That's case A. So what about if a trade union has a slightly different objective? What about this trade union, in this case, feels that the workers are being a little bit overworked and instead tries to go for a kind of middle ground wage rate? You'll find that the monopsony will hire more people. So let's take a look at how it works. So we need to follow rule 1. So rule 1 was that your MC equals your AC equals your S and equals your wage for all the people willing to work at that trade union wage. So I go across from the W trade union, I find the supply curve, and that's how many people are willing to work at WTU. So I'm going to call that QS for now. So all of these people will then have to follow this rule, where your MC, your AC, and your supply equals the wage. So for all these people, the new supply curve is going to equal the wage rate. Always, always, always. So all these people have a supply curve like that. And remember the second rule, everything is normal otherwise. So the people not willing to work at WTU will now be working as usual on their original supply curve, so that's S2. And then for the MC, follow the same rule. The MC is equal to the wage for all the people willing to work at that wage rate, that's QS people. So this is the same. And it goes off my graph again, it returns to normal afterwards. So you can imagine the MC kind of continues like that. That would be MC2. And yes, if I were to be drawing this properly, I should really kind of draw the full MC that would include that. The original one would be the blue one. So the MC has changed and the supply has changed. So now we can work out what is the profit maximizing number of people that should be hired. So MC2 equal to MRP means that this monopsony is going to want to hire, that's where they meet together, they're going to want to hire QS people. In this case, it's really interesting how this happens, that the monopsony is actually going to cause more employment when they pay people more. So this is a trade union that's been able to raise the workers' wages, which is good for the members, but has also helped to alleviate their workload a little bit because now they've got more support with more co-workers. And here we've got case 3, where it's just a trade union that years after year after year has tried to increase the wages. And so now the wages are super high, they're at WTU. And let's take a look at this again. So remember, rule number 1, your supply equals your AC equals MC equals WTU for all the people willing to work at this new wage. And I've got that written down as QS. These are the people willing and able to work at WTU. And all these people again will have a supply curve equal to that. And then for the people who are not willing to work at WTU, things return back to normal. And that's the supply curve. And then the MC curve, same rule. All the people willing to work at QS, it's going to go off my graph again, very sorry. Have an MC like that equal to the wage rate. And then if you can imagine, the MC would have continued kind of around there. That's where MC2 goes. So it's jumped, it's kind of had this discontinuity as expected, as we've talked about before. And let's find how many workers will be employed. So we know that the monopsony is going to hire where MC equals MRP, MC2 equals MRP, and that is right there. So here is a really interesting situation again, where the monopsony has actually caused there to be less employment when they are being forced to pay people more, considerably more than the original case A that we looked at. So here we find that the monopsony, super high wage, led to less employment. It means that the existing trade union members, the ones that have kept their jobs, are in a great situation because they're getting paid a lot, but a lot of them have lost their jobs. So probably this is not going to be something that a trade union wants to do if it wants to protect all the members in the trade union. So overall, case 3 is quite unlikely that a trade union will try and go for super high wages. It kind of depends what the problems are in the monopsony. If they feel it's more of an overwork problem, they might go for more of a case 2 solution. And if they just feel that it's all about the wages and the trade union only cares about its workers, it could maybe go for a case A. And again, left without a trade union, a monopsony will pay workers W1 and hire Q1 people, which is a lower wage and lower employment than what would be possible if a trade union had joined the market. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you very much. Bye.